Everybody, it's good to have you here at 7 o'clock on the East Coast. We are smack dab in the middle of July. It's the 15th of July 2025, and I've really enjoyed. I can't believe we were, man, I love having 4th of July ahead of us. I really do. Once it's behind us, then I don't know. Anyway, soak it all up. It was another nice sunny day today, and had a decent time putting together tonight's broadcast. But at least I got to go out for about 15-20 minutes with Aurora. She was running through the sprinklers, and I did some push-ups, and I just appreciated the view. So that's all. But welcome. Tonight, it's going to be you and I until the second half, until about 8:30. The last half hour, we're going to get a call from James and Skip of Patriot Protect, who have a cybersecurity update. And I saw the stories that they want to show me, and I'm glad that they brought one of them in particular because it goes hand in hand with a couple of other things that I wanted to talk to them about, as far as AI. But more so how we are starting to see people on the consumer end of things, on a civilian level, use AI to work the financial markets, but also now that we're seeing these gigantic investments into retooling entire American cities. Pittsburgh was the one that was in the frame of one article I was reading recently, that they want to make Pittsburgh the capital, like the AI hub of America. And I don't know whether or not that goes into just how the city itself functions, because, you know, we've, even before this became an everyday headline maker of what's coming our way and how things are changing so rapidly with the artificial intelligence stuff. We've been hearing about 15-minute cities and smart cities for a long time now. So I'm just wondering, you know, that acceleration toward hyper reality. You remember all those videos we watched that came out of, it was somebody's video project or something like that, but they had to kind of like forecast going into the future what living in a place like Tokyo would be like in the next 100 years with hyper reality, and everybody just, you know, interacting with the world through one version of a meta goggle or another, where all over those, you know, just augmented reality where everything has a sale going on and you can just, everybody's clicking non-existent things all over the place, where there's a world layered on top of the world that you need to immerse yourself virtually. I just wonder where we are going in that respect, and how the guys at Patriot Protect contemplate that stuff. But anyway, there's so much that we're going to do from now until then. I've got a whole bunch of media that I like to do with you guys. A whole bunch of media. I'm just rapid fire through things, stories, things that are trending. And then I also, in the first half, I really want to get this in the first half. It is an interesting update on TWA 800. TWA 800 is going to get its day in court in 2026, and I hope that before then I can bring somebody like a Jack Cashill on the show to talk about this, because I've done a lot of listening on this subject, and we're going to talk about that tonight in the first half. So hopefully there's going to be time. I think we should be able to take some calls from somewhere between 8:05 and 8:30 when James and Skip show up. So write down everything you want to talk about. Also, I have documented all the people who wrote, who sent in super chats last night. I got about a dozen or so of you across Pilled, Rumble, and Quite Frankly Superchat.com. So last night you were already in the running for tonight. But everybody who sends in a super chat on either Pilled, Rumble through the Rumble Rants, or Quite Frankly, also YouTube, but Quite Frankly Superchat.com. We have this SpaceX mission patch that is going to be sent to you along with an ounce of silver from Tony Arterburn at quitefrankly.gold. So, I don't know. Give us some thoughts. Shout somebody out. Tell us a joke. Contribute to whatever's on the conversation, going on in conversation tonight. And send a couple of bucks to support the show, and you may win a $30-something appreciating hunk of precious metal. You just never know. But everything goes to help the show out. So thank you. Just thank you in general. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's get into some other stuff that we have over here. All right, so two things just as appetizers tonight. The first one is Trump and Ukraine. So Trump says Ukraine shouldn't target Moscow after reportedly asking Zelensky about striking the Russian capital. There's been a lot of things said, a lot of things printed, I should say. President Trump reportedly questioned Ukrainian President Zelensky about whether Kiev would blast Moscow and St. Petersburg, but later indicated publicly that Russia's capital should be off limits. Zelensky, Volodymyr, can you hit Moscow? Can you hit St. Petersburg too? Trump asked on a July 4th call with Zelensky, a day after the president had a disappointing phone call with Russian leader Vladimir Putin, the Financial Times reported. Zelensky, who had pressed Western powers years to provide more long-range missiles, reportedly replied, "Absolutely, we can if you give us the weapons." The president later clarified to reporters that Zelensky shouldn't target Moscow and stressed that he is on nobody's side with the simple goal of stopping the killing. See, simple goal of stopping the killing, but one side can only continue the fight if we prop them up in every way imaginable. Withdrawing from the entire thing would what is there left to negotiate on? None of the land is going back to Ukraine. So if you want to stop the killing, then we just got to stop. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I know I'm not part of the negotiations, and there's so much more there, and I'm not a know-it-all and all that stuff, but of all the obvious criticisms that could be made of this situation, the one I really have not understood up until this point too is, why are we still putting up any sort of a front about whose war this actually is? If it is just about public perception, how the public perceives this war, then at this point we are only trying to accommodate the most mentally disabled people out there. Because I don't know very many people who think that the Ukrainian Renta army, like the third army that they have had here that has been wiped out, is using... does anybody know? Anybody? I don't know people who are thinking anything other than... I mean, they're using our cash, our weapons, and our intelligence. So, who's really Russia's opponent in this? I know we have slipped our hand into the Ukrainian army glove, but I mean, it's just weird. But I'll tell you one thing. We've discussed it before. The Optimus robot Marines better be ready, because I don't know where the U.S. is going to... If there ever was a real big war, I don't know where the manpower is going to be if there needs to be a draft. Because I do not see, and I'm happy about this too, I do not see Gen Z choosing war over even a light prison sentence to stay out of it all. And good on them for that too. I had plenty of friends who heeded the call after September 11th. And I don't know anybody who would go fight any war at this point after watching the last 25 years bungle the loss of life, the loss of money, the loss of freedoms here at home. I don't know anybody who would. So That's the real big question about AI is how fast can they put an M16 into the hands of an Optimus robot and send it into Syria? Because there should be less and less people ever willing to do anything, especially when it comes to serving the country outside of the bounds of the country. I think that it should be all hands on deck, to be honest. Here. Should be all hands on deck here. We don't need 50,000 troops in Berlin or in South Korea. So anyway, that's one of them. The other thing we have over here, the last one for the appetizers, is the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court clears the way. This is from SCOTUSblog.com. They clear the way for Trump administration to massively reduce the size of the Department of Education. A couple of things here. The Supreme Court on Monday granted the Trump administration's request to temporarily pause an order by a federal judge in Massachusetts that would require the Department of Education to reinstate nearly 1,400 employees who were fired earlier this year as a part of the department's efforts to reduce the size of its workforce. In a brief unsigned ruling, the justices blocked the order issued in May by the U.S. District Judge Mayang Zhong, who had concluded that Trump administration's, quote, true intention is to effectively dismantle the department, even though, in his view, it lacked the power to do so. Well, yes, the intention should be, and I hope is, to dismantle the department, but it's true. Lacking the power to do so, which is kind of interesting, because here's the other place here, too. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who is arguably one of the stupidest people in the country, let alone the Supreme Court, in a 19-page opinion that was joined by Justices Elena Kagan and Quintanjo, she called the court's decision indefensible, writing that the hands of executive power to repeal statutes by firing all those necessary to carry them out, the majority, is either willfully blind to the implications of its ruling or naive. But either way, the threat to our Constitution's separation of powers is grave. Now, why is this so interesting? Because, to make any of this really permanent, you're going to need Congress, but Congress never had the power to pass it in the first place. You want to talk about separation of powers? It was thumbing its nose. The Congress, under Jimmy Carter, was thumbing its nose at separation of powers by creating the Department of Education. That's a power that was not that's not enumerated. It's not there. It's not in their purview. It's for the states. So you want to talk about a separation of power. I just love how everybody is only ever talking about separation of powers at the top level after the Constitution had already been molested and circumvented and destroyed. They have it in a position where they want to conserve it. These are the conservatives now. You have to understand when you use your terminology, what's happening. They were progressive up until this point. Now they want to conserve what they have. This is the new functioning Constitution, where there is no thing that the Congress cannot legislate on as long as they have a simple majority. That's it. They've already set all the precedent. It's incredible. And these people are supposed to be so educated, so much smarter than you. But they argue from completely un-American positions all the time. Even the so-called conservative judges do it a lot when you talk about precedent and all that stuff. I love this last one over here. Putting Guan's order, Judge whatever his name, Sotomayor contended it will unleash, putting the order on hold to freeze everything, will unleash untold harm, delaying or denying educational opportunities, and leaving students to suffer from discrimination, sexual assault, and other civil rights violations without the federal resources Congress intended. It's never anything that Congress could have given, and the more money that Congress throws at American children, the worse we do. In fact, we were so much better off the day before the Department of Education became a thing. It is not even funny. As far as sexual assault goes, if you want those numbers to go down, you should keep them out of public schools, as we have said. But like I said, this is Justice Sotomayor over here. If we can't get them the money, they'll all be assaulted. By whom? What does that mean? I wish he could have just gone a little bit more into that. Okay, so the state has to provide provide money instead of the federal government. So the states are robbed. The people of the states are robbed to prop up the Department of Education. That should not exist. The Department of Education goes away, at least in a marginal sense, because again, unless Congress gets involved, it can all be reversed through executive orders, through court rulings, regulatory changes. Litigation alone can reverse stuff immediately. So I would love to have heard a little bit more how a little bit less money per child coming from the middleman that is the federal government instead of just directly from the states was going to result in all the children being sexually assaulted. That's a very, very strange statement to make, but you can just say things like that when you're a progressive, because the sky is always falling. It's always falling. Anyway, all right, let's get started. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, my friends. I'm going to want your calls at some point tonight, so get them fired up and send in those super chats. We'll be reading them all throughout.
I am black. I am gay. I am disabled.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's run!
ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC licenses. At that time, we were only ever streaming on Ustream, so I provided those licenses to Brad Hunstable over at Ustream, and he's like, okay, cool, thanks man, play what you want. I wish that somebody would get with it. Somebody would get with it and start allowing independent broadcasters to pick up some kind of a new media license, maybe even a blanket license that they could apply to their channels, to take all of the litigation end and stuff like that off of Twitch's shoulders. That's the reason why we're not on Twitch. Every episode was having the audio muted because there was just even 5 seconds of incidental something being caught up in the background. So it's going to suck for a lot of people who are now going to think that I just went on an extended vacation, but I'm going to see what I can do to get it back, especially for the sake of all of those wonderful playlists that I have made. Now, everybody in the Discord, we were having a meeting about this in the Discord chat earlier on today, and people were sleuthing about the internet, and they said, hey, Frank, all of your playlists are still there on Spotify. So thankfully, at least for now, I don't know if that's just a temporary thing with their functionality, the seasonal playlists and everything else that I had made for the show, they are still there, but my account's gone. That just, whatever. We're advancing in some places, we're not moving fast enough in others, and that's just the way it is. So, whatever. We just listened to a little bit of Sublime, because why the hell not? All right, that's that. Okay, let's just jump into this now, because I have some mixed media I want to do. We're going to be giving away an ounce of silver, so remember, I'll be reading those super chats in a little bit. First one up, I did not know. I had a couple of people who got in touch with me this morning. I saw the emails. Frank, I hope you're okay over there. I said, why? What's happened? And I didn't know until I then went and checked it out, what was going on in some parts of my county, but especially down in New Jersey. And the flooding was incredible. There's a couple of people that have died. And I want to show you a few of this. And then, of course, there's the footage out of New York with public transit and all. I did not know that this stuff was going on there. Of course, you have your winners in the comments. This is what climate change looks like. Someone else said, I've seen enough. Another $4 billion to Israel, quick. Oh, my God. But this is Route 22 in New Jersey. I didn't even know this was going on until this morning after I had people checking in on me, which I'm very appreciative of. But obviously and thankfully, we were totally out of that. What is this, the West Side Highway? What the hell is that? Take a look at this. This is some from New York. These are some submissions to the What is New York site on Instagram. find a lot of things here. Sewers overflowing. Yeah. The subways in particular. The subways in particular are awful. Look at that. I'll tell you, if you any water that you need to stay far, far away from, it's that water. Some incredible. I mean, we had it over here as soon as we went live. This is subways. Raining down. Oh, through the recessed lights. Oh, that sucks. Oh, man, that sucks. In the apartment buildings, coming through the light fixtures. That sucks. Dude, he's got no shoes on? What the hell's wrong with him? I can't stand bohemians like that. I really can't. I can't stand the barefoot people in ridiculous places. You know, in the summertime, it's the driveway, it's the front lawn. I'll have my shoes off as well. But you know, just walking around public on the sidewalk, going into restaurants, it's just me and my bare feet. Oh, you know, it's all all natural. I can't stand the all natural people who go into subways. Ridiculous. Freak. Where's your shoes, freak? What's going on over there? Ugh. Oh my gosh. That is just. You drop a gallon of that on Iran. You want to get rid of the Iranian nuclear program. Drop a gallon of this water on Iran. You don't even need a bunker buster. There's just so much. Oh, the apartment buildings. That's the worst. Seeing the apartment buildings where there's just nothing separating you from outside anymore. Good Lord. Anyway, that's what was going on over here. And it's probably around the time that we went live. Because we started getting some thunder. It was raining when I left here at 9 o'clock or so, but nothing like that. Nothing like that. All right. So, more. We have mixed media now. Let's just keep running on through it, shall we? All right. The first one is we have a follow-up. You saw that there's a lot of Democrats out there pretending to care about Jeffrey Epstein now because, you know, just like how Republicans pretend to care about cutting spending when they're not in power, knowing that anything that they do will just look virtuous and full of American constitutional principle and all that shit, but they actually have no mandate and they have no majority and therefore no responsibility to deliver. That's the same thing that's going on right now with Democrats. And Hank Johnson whipped out the acoustic guitar this time. That's right. Hank the Cowboy. I'm doing it to you again. This is not as long as the first one, but I want you to listen to Hank Johnson, everybody. Here you go.
Congressman Hank Johnson coming to give you some more ear candy or perhaps an earache. But I'm going to do my best off of this Jason Isbell tune, Dreamsicle.
We have any Jason Isbell fans out there? Do you know the song Dreamsicle? Because I don't.
Epstein died by suicide. Believe that and you must be blind. You've been telling us you released the file, but where are they? We've gone along with what's been told. We've had plenty of time, you're in control. But now you say you will withhold the Epstein file. Dreamsicle on a summer night in a folding armchair. Trump's howling at the moon. Release the Epstein file soon.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I call it the halfway house of representatives. This is why I call it that. Been calling it for years. It's a halfway house. And I know they serve their function in society, but it shouldn't be where we send the representatives to Congress. Should not be. I love how he kept the dreamsicle line in there. Talk about complete. You're going to make a parody, and then you're just going to leave this non sequitur line in there that has not dreamsicle on my folding chair, or whatever the hell it was. What is that? Dreamsicle on a summer night in a folding chair, a folding lawn chair. Why didn't you change that line, you dummy? The only line he didn't change. Well, I just wanted to, a tip of the cap to the original author. Trust me, just no tap kipping or cap tipping, cow tipping. Anyway, here's another one for you. This is a Democrat Representative Maxwell Frost.
We have ICE federal agents pulling up, terrorizing our communities, hopping out of unmarked vans, stealing and, yes, kidnapping people, not giving them their day in court, and, yes, human trafficking them to other nations, other countries around the entire world.
Did you know you can human traffic somebody back to their home? Listen, due process does not mean a day in court. It means to go through some sort of verification process to make sure you are either here legally or not. That's it. This idea that anybody who crawls over the southern border, either in the back of a box truck or has been, hiding out in a camel's ass and got shit out on the other side in New Mexico, or whatever the hell it is, the idea that if you just get across the border, you cannot be sent back without a court date is just ridiculous. But they are not serious people. Anyway, so now the people who are sent home they're being trafficked now. Now they're being trafficked back home. Anyway, they don't care about the sexual assault and everything else that happens on the way over here to break the first and most sacred law that they encounter. Anyway, who's this now? Oh, just another country heard from. Take a listen to this woman.
Okay, I'll say it. I'm afraid.
It's okay. Well, she's been silent for too long. She's held back for too long. Every day people come to this woman. Every day. Janet, please. What's on your mind? We need you, Janet. Janet, your voice is a guiding light. Janet, why have you been silent?
Okay, I'll say it. I'm afraid of what they're doing to us.
What are they doing, Janet?
And I don't know how to be kind about it. Every day, I find more.
What'd you find?
Could hurt our kids.
What exactly is that?
And I don't know how to share it with kindness. I try being nice and telling you, and you ignore me because you're hooked on kindness. And so I scream, and I get a little more attention, but then you hate me. Yuck.
Oh, it's just this is just what Janet has to deal with. I mean, she's just between a rock and a hard place. Just between a rock and a hard place. See, the problem here is that she's been led to believe for so long that her opinion matters. And now that she's retired and bored, instead of joining a community theater group or something like that, which I think she should, she'd be running a better script. She thinks that she's in the Crucible over here. She thinks that she's running some Arthur Miller script or something like that. But really, it's just some, everything in her mind was written by some roly-poly at the DNC. But she should join community theater. Instead, she's pretending to be some oracle and doesn't really say anything either, which is typical. Doesn't really say anything because, like most of them, expansive knowledge on any one subject is merely implied by how serious and emotional you can get in the middle of your time on the soapbox. You don't have to say anything in particular. You just have to show how seriously emotional you are. And expansive knowledge is just implied. We all know why, right? We're all on the same page. I don't even have to say anything, right? We can all just we know? Okay, good. Don't have to get into any detail. Good. I mean, you couldn't be this serious without proper cause. Could you, Janet? Nah, yuck. Yeah, yuck. Can I ask you guys something? almost all of the grandmothers I ever knew, and I know this is anecdotal, so all the grandmothers I ever knew, and I say almost all because even, they all used to be just so nice, so accommodating, always too busy doting on children to be this whiny, this attention-seeking, and socialist to boot. You want to talk about yucky? What the hell? It's just this generation of grandma is so much more infested with this mindset. It's not compared to my grandparents. Ugh. Well, my father's mother was hard to deal with. So that's why I say it's anecdotal. She was hard to deal with. She got a lot more mellow as she got older, and she actually started losing her faculties a little bit, to be honest. But, oh my gosh, this, ugh, what the hell is happening? What the hell is happening to everybody's grandparents these days? All right, what's next? We have two lesbians were shocked at the sexual propaganda books that they found in Barnes and Nobles that were aimed at infants. Take a listen to this. I'm happy that they were upset, to be honest.
Okay, we're gay, but we're in Barnes and Nobles, and there's a kids book section, a gay kids book section, and this shit is crazy. Look at this. Okay, there's the gay BCs, right? Bye Bye Binary.
Gay BCs, that's a book you can get at Barnes and Nobles. Bye Bye Binary.
Bye Bye Binary with a mohawk on a baby. Gay BCs, you're not ready. You hold us. Okay. What? A is for arrow and ace. B is for bi. This is crazy. We're gay, but this is crazy. What? For a baby?
D is for drag, everybody.
Okay, E is for equality. We'll take that. F is for family. Okay, we're getting better. Okay, why did it start so crazy?
Just for hope.
It got better. I is for intersex. It's pushing it. For a baby, this is pushing it.
Pushing it? No, it's pushing it for a 12-year-old as well. Okay, and obvious, and listen, kudos, and we need more people calling out this nonsense, because anyone who's being honest with themselves knows exactly what's going on here. And this is why Pride Month is effectively dead, thank God, because that was insufferable when it was at its peak, and now it's just kind of like slunk back. But this is not. Just remember, this is not for babies. I know you say, well, these are baby books. Well, yeah, but I don't know if some of you may know this, but babies can't read. This is for mothers. These books are for moms. These are for women, mostly women. Okay, if the father is if he's in the picture, then he is just one of those beast of burden slaves who just do everything that the domineering wife says. Okay, otherwise it's just the single mom, and this is for the moms or the pinko grandma that we just watched. Those are the people who are buying this stuff. These are for progressive parents, mainly domineering witch mothers, who see their child as some sort of a pet project to boost their social credit score. That's what this is about. So it's stomach churning just because you know that the target is literally infants to toddlers, but they don't know what the hell they're looking at. These are scripts. These are basic programming scripts for parents who are down with the program. That's the real shit here. So, okay, what is this? Something else that was sent my way. This was dropped in the submissions chat on Discord, which we just opened up over the last week. And the instructions were, Frank, just watch it without previewing. This one came from AK, so let's watch it. It's only 3 minutes long. Why you definitely should not share this JD Vance meme. This is from about a week ago on MSNBC.
About 2 weeks ago, a Norwegian tourist named Mads Mikkelsen, who is not to be confused with the Danish actor from the James Bond and Marvel movies, landed in Newark Airport. On arrival, he was detained by immigration agents who demanded access to his cell phone and then denied him entry to the U.S. As one Norwegian news outlet, which spoke to him, reports, quote, Mikkelsen says that after being warned he could face a fine or even prison, he gave immigration officers the PIN code to his phone. He was then confronted with its contents, pictures the officers found questionable. In particular, a meme of U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance portrayed as bald and a private photo of a pipe.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It has prevented his entrance into the country. Look at that face. I fucking love that meme. I love all variations of it. It's like, it can be scary, funny, cute.
Specifically, Mikkelsen says the immigration officials objected to this viral meme of the vice president depicting him as a bald baby. This and hundreds like it are all over the internet, as some of our viewers may have seen. Now, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has responded to these allegations. They say Mikkelsen was not denied entry to the United States because of this meme you can see on your screen. CBP says that it was over, quote, his admitted drug use. Mikkelsen says that he told the agency he smoked marijuana exactly twice in his life, once in Germany, once in New Mexico. But not everyone seems to believe that explanation. And if anything, suspected censorship of the Vance meme may have brought even more attention to it, which can happen in cases like this.
What? So, wait. So did he smoke before he got on the plane or something like that? Who cares? I just think to see how stingy people are with tourists from Europe who have J.D. Vance memes and may have smoked pot, may have consumed cannabis products in their life. Meanwhile, it's literally the Wild West down at the southern border. Well, until recently. But what the hell? I hope we get more on the cannabis thing.
Yesterday, Democratic Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon shared the viral meme of Vice President J.D. Vance on social media.
I love the piercing eyes because they can be scary. It can move past goofy and get into spooky real quick. I love the icy blue piercing eyes. It's like a White Walker.
And in fact, that meme, the one you're looking at right here, even made its way to the floor of Irish Parliament.
What?
We're watching a major incursion on freedom of expression, unthinkable in a Western democracy. This week, a young Norwegian tourist detained by ICE at Newark Airport and sent back to Oslo. Why? He had this meme on his phone, Minister. A meme depicting Vice President J.D. Vance as a baby. I mean, extraordinary. That a young person with this amusing meme on their phone.
If J.D. Vance does not win the presidency in 2028, then this should be enough magic. This should be enough. The memetics are strong enough to push him through on this alone. This was a divine meme, divinely inspired meme.
Depicting a public person, that this would be used as an excuse to detain him for 5 hours and then deport him back to Oslo.
Again, DHS and CBP deny that's the reason. But, just in case they are not telling us the full story here, please, dear viewers, I hope you take appropriate precautions. I strongly recommend that you do not try to cross the border with this meme on your phone, or this meme, or this meme, or this one. There is absolutely nothing funny about having any of these.
Jeez, I'm so happy that this got some major airtime. There's nothing else on MSNBC going on. That was fun. Now I want to know more about his drug use because I find it hard to believe that ICE would say this. I'm pretty sure that most ICE agents have shared that meme themselves. I think they know that they have to know that this is harmless. So I want to know more about that, but this will be gone. It'll be gone as soon as we end the show. It's over. Okay, now here's something else I want to throw your way. It is 7:42. We got about 18 minutes until we get ourselves to the top of the hour, where we're going to take a little bit of an intermission and then come back for whatever kind of calls you have and whatever kind of extras I have before we discuss one thing or another with James and Skip of Patriot Protect for the last half hour of the program tonight. But I want to get into this because I really do hope that this starts making a lot more waves in the media. I don't know if it's going to on the television, but then again, the television doesn't really matter that much anymore, at least compared to the way it did back when things like this actually happened. And I'm talking about TWA Flight 800 from 1996. Take a listen to this. This is from Jack Cashill's Substack. Okay? That's Cashill, Jack Cashill. What we now know about TWA Flight 800. I have things highlighted for you over here. On July 17th, 1996, TWA 800, a Paris-bound 747, blew up 10 miles off Long Island's South Shore, killing all 230 souls on board. In the days leading up to the anniversary, I will share some fresh insights on this tragedy and much too successful cover-up that followed. Now, what it's all based on is the fact that in 2026, we are going to have this case, Crick versus Raytheon. That's something to look out for, and we will be looking out for it. Ronald Crick is the father of Oliver Crick, a 25-year-old student flight engineer killed in the crash. Crick has been joined in the suit by relatives of other deceased passengers and crew. The defendants are the Raytheon Company, the Lockheed Martin Corporation, and the United States government. The Crick suit gained momentum when it absorbed information gleaned from FOIA, that's Freedom of Information Act requests, a suit brought by Tom Stahlkup, a no-nonsense physicist who has been pursuing this case since he was a grad student in 1996. To establish his claims, Stahlkup was granted subpoena power and was able to depose several key witnesses from within the investigation. Stahlkup appeared in a 2001 documentary, Silenced, produced by me and my late partner, James Sanders. What follows are extended passages from Crick versus Raytheon, the actual lawsuit. Before we get there, I got to say about James Sanders, that's the reason why I highlighted him in particular. You have got to listen to this episode of Midnight in the Desert, Art Bell. It's the last show that Art Bell ever brought to air. Well, not the last episode, but the last iteration of his work. You know, well, he had left and come back many times. Midnight in the Desert is what he was doing around 2015 when he came back again, and he had Jim Sanders on with Bill Burns, and this is about TWA Flight 800. So if you want to hear Jim Sanders when he was still alive, because he died just a short while ago, not today, but if you want to hear Jim Sanders, this is an absolutely staggering broadcast. Staggering. And we're going to get into some of the key points in this lawsuit that's coming out next year. But Art Bell, Jim Sanders, and Bill Burns, that's Birnes, TWA 800. It's hosted by one of my favorite, was my favorite Art Bell repositories on YouTube, Art Bell on Periscope, as you can see on the screen over here. Now all things Art Bell, our good friend over there on Rumble, has really has taken the ball and run with it. But you got to listen to this, the TWA broadcast, especially the new ones, because back then when it happened in 1996, and people are still talking about it in 1997, it was locked up. The narrative was locked up airtight. It was a spark in the fuel, whatever the hell it was. You listen to this. Here are some of the excerpts from Crick versus Raytheon, the lawsuit that's coming our way. And we'll do a little bit of reading together, and then we'll take some calls. So here we go. First one, on July 17th, 1996, a Boeing 747 headed for Paris took off from New York's John F. Kennedy Airport around 8:20 p.m. Within 12 minutes of takeoff, the plane exploded and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Long Island. All 230 passengers and crew died. After the incident, the federal government released a false report contending that the explosion was the result of an electrical fire in the airplane's center fuel tank. I remember watching on summer nights in my grandmother's living room, with my father and my cousins and all that stuff. Everybody would always convene on summer nights and have their coffee and their tea and the Entenmann's cake and all that. You can hear the crickets coming in from the side. The side porch was all screened in, but you can hear the crickets and just watching, like, Current Affair and all the hard copy and all that other shit. I remember the animations that show how the spark happened and how the front of the plane just popped off like a bottle cap and everything else happened. I remember those nights. Just crazy. And that was the prevailing theory for a long time. Now you have the work of physicist Dr. Thomas Stahlcup. And through his work, evidence emerged proving that TWA 800's explosion was not caused by a defect in the plane, but instead by an errant U.S. missile, a United States missile fired at aerial target drones flying nearby. Okay, the evidence unearthed by Dr. Stahlcup establishes that the United States, including its agencies, the U.S. Missile Defense Agency, the United States Department of Defense, and the Navy, they were acting in concert and working side by side with Raytheon Company and Lockheed Martin Corporation, and they were testing the Aegis weapon system and firing SM-2 missiles with live warheads from warships at aerial missile targets off the coast of New York in close proximity to commercial airline flight paths. One such missile struck TWA Flight 800, causing it to break apart and crash into the Atlantic Ocean, killing everyone on board. Why it was being done there? Beyond me. But there's more on that too. Newly discovered evidence also shows that these defendants engaged in top-down cover-up to prevent the public from learning the truth about TWA 800. We got a little bit more on that. The evidence revealed that the United States and its agencies, acting in concert with contractor defendants, conducted initial operational tests of the SPY-ID radar upgrade with testing that involved firing at least one missile with a live warhead in May of 1996. This testing, firing live warheads off the coast of New Jersey and New York, was a departure from prior practices. You would think so. Live warheads off the coast of New York and New Jersey. You couldn't have found a better place to do that. The Department of Defense urged the missile systems to proceed, quote, as quickly as possible to production and deployment, end quote, to increase defense capabilities. Consequently, the Senate committee approved the funding, and the Navy accelerated testing and development of the next generation Aegis missile system. Instead of conducting testing away from the potential flight paths of other aircrafts, they were tested on an expedited basis in and around a land-based testing site called Combat Systems Engineering and Development Site in New Jersey, which is a highly congested area. The evidence obtained through Dr. Stahlcup's FOIA litigation also suggests that the FBI interfered with the National Transportation Safety Board's investigation. Surprise, surprise. The FBI led the investigation of the incident and enlisted the assistance of the CIA rather than allowing NTSB to lead investigative efforts. The FBI removed all copies of Navy radar tapes and refused to allow the NTSB to conduct eyewitness interviews or review the FBI's results regarding the cause of the TWA 800 crash. These copies of the Navy radar tapes were finally released and show an object heading straight toward TWA 800, end quote. This information appears to corroborate previously discredited testimony from eyewitnesses, many of whom maintain that they saw something arcing toward TWA 800 before the plane exploded, but were not permitted to testify at any NTSB hearings. Some eyewitnesses reported being threatened by the FBI to keep quiet. Now, here's the Crick suit should come to fruition in 2026, but media support in the interim would be extremely valuable. This is one conspiracy that is more than a theory. It's a crime, and many of the major perps are still in the game. And now the question I would ask you guys is, you think about all of the efforts that are just what has been revealed here, all the efforts that were made to keep what seems to be just a reckless error, a mistake, quiet. A mistake, mind you. Imagine if it were a deliberately planned operation, what lengths they would go to make sure that as many corners were covered at that point. This is incredible. And it's just awful. You think about all those people, the children, everybody on that plane. Just in an instant, you're just going down, losing consciousness. You're out, and it's because they wanted to expedite. They wanted to as quickly urge the missile system to proceed as quickly as possible to production and deployment to increase defense capabilities. Against whom? For what purpose? Who was coming for us? What did we need these new missiles so quickly that we were going to test them off the coast of Long Island? I just man, this is just one of those horrible stories that pops up every once in a while, and we've talked about it on this show before. But the fact that it's going to finally have its day in court, 30 years later now, 30 years later next year, 30 years. So just wanted to put that on your radar. And you know what? I mean, there's so many, on this show, we've talked about so many instances of government cover-up and stories that involve civilian death, whether they be, intended that way or something else. I never really question motive too much with this. I think the fact that it is just human error is bad enough, because the cover-up is even worse. And then, of course, the cover-up is part of the reason that you start sometimes wondering if there was some greater motive. Because what did you need? I mean, did you really want to test these missiles? You had to use a commercial jetliner filled with men, women, and children, and it didn't serve any geopolitical purposes afterwards. You didn't blame it on anybody. Yeah, there was terrorism theories back in the day, but it didn't. I don't know. It's just awful. All just to sidestep responsibility, So with that, we'll take a really quick break. When we come back, I want to take your calls on this, whatever you remember from that time, especially if you were from the area. If anybody out there actually saw this happen, that would be an incredible. That would be an incredible show. That would make for an incredible show. We actually have an eyewitness out there. Anything you want to say on this or any of the media that we reviewed tonight, we'll do that right after this quick break. And let me just say again, I am doing so much work over here. I have a day off on Friday, but me, Lauren, Aurora, my father will be here, painting, organizing new things, getting ready for all the wonderful presentations that will be part of the September Jamboree, both here, but also the main event over at the venue, which is on quitefrankly.tv/events. Become a part of the Jamboree, everybody. You're gonna be rubbing shoulders with people like Mel K, Top Lobster, and Raven. Or they got in touch with me today. Hey, is there a dress code? So we're talking about that. So the guys from Nephilim Death Squad are gonna be putzing around. It's gonna be so awesome. Zoso Dude, Reverend Bill Bean, Tony Black, the family, John Ward, you name it. Robert Phoenix is coming from Texas. Matt, Sal the barber, hopefully Rob, Anthony. It's good. The guys from Set the Charge. It's just going to be awesome. And of course, Jay Gulanello, who's a partner of mine in this venture, and his premier chefs, Nick and Tony. You're going to be eating incredible stuff from an assembly line of nose to tail organic goodness. Some of that nose to tail stuff is coming from Sal, the butcher. So, and who's also going to be there. So you guys can laugh with him, with his infectious laugh. Between him and Matt, everybody loves Sal and Matt's laugh. So I'm happy about that. There's going to be panels, other light entertainment. There's still tickets left. I'd love to see this sell out quick, because then I have an idea of what we can do afterwards. And yeah, be there. All right. I'll talk to you guys in just a second.
All right, you alien assholes. In the words of my generation, up yours!
Okay. Happy to have you guys back. Happy to have you guys back. So here's what I got to do. I've got to put, as I read out these names and your super chats, I have to put them into the name picker. Where the hell did the name picker go? Here you go. All right. So first one up. Live Free or Die. Says, I wonder if there are any Clinton associates on TWA 800 that day. It was an election year after all. Well, listen, if we want to talk about New York plane crashes and the Clintons, then we got to bring on some friends like Donald Jeffries to talk about JFK Jr. That's something else. That's something else. The skies over New York in the 1990s were not safe, especially if you had any political leanings. Thank you, Live Free or Die. Reels Over Feels says, hey, Frank, keep doing you. I never win stuff. Well, you know what? It happens. It does happen. And that's why I usually like coming on and doing this and having first, second, and third place prizes, because I like giving more out to people. And I feel bad when everybody doesn't win, but I don't know. Not everybody wins. All right, let's see here. Steve Robinson says, let's see here. Quite frankly, chat is like berries on the vine. Just keeps getting sweeter all the time. Steve, I agree with you. We have wonderful, wonderful chat rooms. We always have sexy, voluptuous, hourglass-shaped chatters, big jiggly butts. It's fantastic. When they run, the jiggle, just a healthy jiggle, of course. It's incredible. They're flowery, smelling flowery. Everybody's very well cleaned and groomed. Highly hygienic set of chat rooms. I'm very happy about it. Other chat rooms, just really, you can smell them. You can smell them through the computer. But not this one. Not this one. Okay, Live Free or Die. Live Free or Die says, this and the ungodly humidity in the Northeast right now is what weather manipulation looks like. You know, I wouldn't be, I'd be inclined to agree with you, especially last year. There was just no getting around. There was nothing that unlocked the humidity, and it never used to be that way. It always gets, we're not that far from the water, and it gets hot, so it gets hot and steamy. But there never used to be this kind of locked in wet blanket kind of a feeling. And I feel like it's just the way it is now. John Volts says, Frank, you ever bump into Gavin McGinnis around town? He lives in... No, he doesn't. John, he doesn't live here. He lives a couple of... Unless he moved. I never heard anything about that. Chrissy Mayer would have told me. He lives a couple of towns over, around the place where... around the area where, what the hell's his name? James O'Keefe set up shop with, whatever the hell he was doing for a while that kicked him out. I totally forget. But that's where James O'Keefe was working for a long time, over there in Mamaroneck. Somewhere around there. Let me see here. Kobe Shumway. Thank you so much, Kobe. Let me put Kobe in there. Jay Britt says, not a super chat again. I am no poltroon. You damned poltroon. Jay Britz, you're in there. You are in there. Shotzi, thank you so much, Shotzi. It's good to have you, my friend. Who else? Let's see here. And then John Volts. Frank, USS Carr, FFG 52, shot down TWA 800 on July 17, 1996. William Teal made a 5-minute video on his YouTube channel 9 years ago telling the story. There you have it then. We actually have the ship. I don't know why we wouldn't have the ship. It'd be very easy to account for what would be in the area at the time. But thank you for the information, John. That's a really, really valuable footnote right there. And thank you. And Stowstube, thank you so much. Jay Winard says, coincidentally, I was in Muncie, Indiana when this happened, flying in the Nationals of Model Aviation. I had to be up early to fly my first round, but was up all night, got glued to CNN. Wow. See, I'd love to hear a little bit more on this. We're going to open up the lines in just a little bit. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Over there on Rumble, Poso for Hope says, I love this show. I love you, Poso. Thank you. Haywood says, damn, caught up just in time for Mark Swan and can't fast forward it. Well, get over it. There you go. This is July. Listen, July comes and goes, and so does Mark Swan's Dancer. And when that goes away, as much as we would rather not have seen it, it's also oh man, July's gone. Another year. Jay Semo says, you always have great guests, but I love shows when it's just you commenting on current events. I like hanging out with you guys too, Jay. But I've been really making the rounds here. I'm trying to figure out all, the kind of rotating door of guests that I can have just in the area to come in. And I just want to capture that feeling of last Friday a lot more. It feels great, but this is one of those things that I need just for my own self as well. I love spending time with you guys, and especially when we have a really hot topic for people to call in on. Grandma Grateful says, all grandmas are not whiny. Some are badass fighting for their grandchildren's future. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just saying, compared to my grandparents' generation, it's just a little bit different now. Tommy Jekyll, when will you have another family retrospective, Frank? Look back in history, etc. Seems like that's always a pathway to good energy. A family retrospective, look back in history, etc. Well, I mean, what exactly what you want to talk about? I'll give you some family retrospective. You want to know what Aurora and I were talking about at dinner on Saturday night? Well, it was me, Aurora, and Lauren, and we went to this restaurant that we like, and it's just we three. Beautiful night, warm, not very humid. We decided we'll take a sidewalk table, and we'll be outside and just be on the sidewalk while all the cars are going by and people are walking by and just enjoying the hustle and bustle of things. And Aurora had a lot to look at. It was a lot of fun. And a car drove by with a dog peeking its head out the back window. And Aurora was talking about the dog. No, I just want to give that dog a kiss, and all that stuff. So then she leaned over to Lauren, and she grabbed Lauren's arm, and she kind of like gave Lauren's arm a kiss, and then she grabbed my arm, and she kind of like rubbed her face on it and gave my arm a kiss. I said, "Oh, thank you, sweetie." And then she went back over to Lauren. She grabbed her arm, and it looked like she was about to lick Lauren's arm, and we said, No. You don't. We don't. I said, Aurora, we don't need to be licking each other at the dinner. We don't need to be licking each other at the dinner table, especially at a restaurant, no less. And Aurora goes, licking is a big part of our family. And I said, Aurora, never tell that to anybody. Like, never. Don't. You don't need to say those words ever again to anybody. Please. Said the licking is not. I could just imagine her telling that to somebody. Licking is a very big part of our family. Like, no, it's not. Just don't ever tell people that, ever. Anyway, so there's a little bit of a family retrospective for you for tonight. But I love doing those shows, and we have a lot more. I have great topics that we're going to be able to work into things. Kelly Silva says, I enjoyed listening while I nearly died weed eating. What the hell happened, Kelly? Kelly Silva had a weed eating issue? Anyway, Tommy Jekyll. Thank you so much, Tommy. Did I put Tommy in there? Yeah. Tommy Jekyll. And anybody else? Yeah, Haywood. I already have Haywood in there. Good. All right. So I'll add a little bit more of you guys at the end when we're about to leave, and I'll tell you who wins the silver, but I don't want to take up too much more time right now because we only have about, 22 minutes or so before we have our guests call in. So please spend some time with me. 914-200-0269, 914-200-0269. Give me a buzz. Let's do it. The first one up is Willie. What's going on, Willie? 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 Well, that's not good. John from Connecticut just tried calling up. We'll just do that again. 914-200-0269. Let's take a call. Oh, wait, let's try one more time. Willie. Hey.
Hey, is this Frank?
It is. It is. Go ahead.
Back in the 90s there, we saw that flash. We were out fishing out on Long Island Sound, way up the sound a bit, but not so far not to see, you know?
You saw it, John?
We see the planes. Yeah, we saw the flash and the thing, and, you know, we were like, what the fuck was that, you know? Fishing, you know how fishing goes, beers and shit and crap and whatever, but we saw the flash and the thing. And, you know, we thought it was a meteor, you know, shooting star or something. We didn't know. We didn't see the missile go and hit it or nothing. But I was on that shit like crazy. But back then, all you had was CNN or local news or whatever, and you only got little bits and pieces, and then it, you know, fades away.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we saw that shit happen.
Wow.
Back in the day in whatever it was, you said 96. I was trying to think about it, and I was like, holy shit, I remember seeing it. And I'm like, because I know all about it. I know all about the explanation and everything, because the military planes put nitrogen in their tanks, so when they sit on the tarmac, when the fuel boils because it was such a hot day. I mean, they made a good explanation to prove their point, right?
Good. Yeah, I get
some frayed wires and this and that and everything else. And military planes don't do the same thing because they put nitrogen in the tank so it doesn't be explosive. And it was, you know, they got delayed or something. I remember the whole story.
Well, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember all the graphics and stuff like that. But I can't. Well, hey, listen. You know what?
Then I remembered that they were playing war games, and it's like, what the fuck?
That's something I never.
One of my buddies.
That's something I never heard about until many years after the fact. But yeah, if you were fishing, anywhere along the Long Island Sound,
we were out by
in Connecticut,
Fairfield.
Yeah,
you know where Fairfield is?
Yeah, you would.
We were out of Bridgeport, but we were close to Fairfield. There's a lighthouse out there. I forgot what the break is called. I haven't been there in a bunch of years.
Yeah, you definitely see it. Okay, well, hey Willie, are you going to be coming out to the event in September?
I'm looking to win a free ticket because I'm kind of broke, but I'd love to come.
Okay, well,
I got the cataract thing in my eyeball. That's what happened with that. I wanted to reiterate or answer you back on why I'm going blind in one eye. So, yeah, I could drive down there in the day, but driving home at night would suck. I don't know if the wife would come, whatever. She's spooked about going anywhere.
One way. Well, we'll see what happens. But I'll tell you, and thanks for the call, because there is going to be.
I'm figuring Zoso might, stay at my house and I'll ride bitch on his bike.
That would be great.
Just kidding.
No. Maybe we could do that. Hold on, we'll figure that out. But thanks for the call. And as John was saying there, there's going to be a couple of tickets that we do give away. First of all, I planned on doing that anyway at some point, just to have a couple of those set aside to have some fun with it. But our good friend Kelly in Louisiana insisted on buying 2 tickets that can be donated for somebody else. Absolutely insisted. I could not tell her otherwise. So, we'll have some fun with that, and we'll see what happens. But otherwise, yeah. Jump on it. Can you imagine if Willie shows up on a motorcycle with on the back of Zoso Dude's motorcycle? Somebody better be outside with a camera for that one. 914-200-0269. 914-200-0269. That's what we got. Okay, let's take another call. 503, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Frank, this is Problematic Todd. How are you?
Todd, it's good to have you on. Go ahead.
Yeah, in regards to the topic about TWA 800, it's just shocking to hear another official narrative come collapsing down. What's next, Frank? Are we going to find out that Building 7 didn't really come down by office fires?
I know. There has to be something. There has to be something there. I know. Well, here's the thing with this. For people who have looked into it, there is the TWA 800 has quite a dedicated group of researchers that have mapped all this out for a long time, and I've known it just because of the radio shows I've listened to. But when I saw this pop up just on the internet over the last couple of days, specifically because there is going to be a court case that is heard in 2026 versus Raytheon. And of course, the United States government and other defendants. I said, "Wow, well, this would be great. I'd love to be part of whatever tiny operation I could in new media here to get everybody on the same page of that." Because, wow, what would the implications? What would that be? What would that do if everything goes our way with that one? I mean, what money is going to? What kind of attention is going to be put on the whole damn thing? And that would be interesting to see how everybody's forced to cover it.
I wouldn't hold your breath about that going our way, in my opinion. Just look at all the Epstein stuff going on now. And as far as these researchers, I suggest they keep their heads on a swivel. We know what happens to a lot of these people that get too close to the truth. Be careful. Yeah,
I know. But it seems like it's already out on the record. And that's the whole thing here. We're talking about negligence. Something that was very deadly, something that just needs to be taken responsibility for. There'd probably be a massive payout at this point, but I don't know how it would. To your point, I don't know how it would affect anything. It's not like the Navy's going to go away. That Raytheon and Skunk Works and all. It's not like all that stuff is. All of their defense contracts are going to be pulled because of 1996. But I mean, there's definitely going to be a bill that needs to be paid.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see how people respond. Again, we're talking 30 years later. It's like JFK or anything else. 9/11, 30 years down the road. It'll be interesting to see how fired up people get about it. Like all this other stuff, it just sort of tends to come out 30 years down the road.
You just made me get a little bit sick when I realized that in 6 years it's going to be 30 years since September 11th. 30.
Crazy.
Oh man.
But hey Frank, one other thing. You mentioned the other day on the show that you were encouraging people within a few hundred miles to come to your Jamboree. Well, I want you to know I'm coming. I got my VIP tickets. I'm coming all the way from Oregon.
Wow. Oh wait, you know what? I saw the Oregon. I just saw states. And I said, wow. Well, listen, there's Oregon. I know that there's Texas. I know there's Middle America. We have one friend of ours that's coming in from Europe. But this is going to be wonderful to meet you, Todd.
Yeah, I can't wait. And I'm curious now. I'm curious if anyone is coming from farther than me. It's tough to get much farther from New York and Oregon. Maybe if there's anyone out there listening who's coming from anywhere farther, let Frank know. I'd be curious to know.
I just told you, Europe.
Oh, Europe. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They got me beat. Damn it, Frank.
Hey, listen, not by much. I mean, when we're talking about Oregon or Europe, we're talking about thousands of miles. So there's something to be said about that one way or another. As far as United States goes, the only person that could really beat you is somebody from Alaska.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I can't wait to come out. I told my lady, I said, I got tickets. We're going to New York to see Frank, and I really hate his show, and we're going. And she said, who's Frank? So she's in for a big surprise.
Yes, finally, she'll know what you do at night. Okay, Todd, thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
See you later. Finally. Gina, says, so stoked to meet everyone in September, and I hope I get to meet your dad and maybe sing a little duet with him. Great show. Love you, Frank. Okay. I'll give you some songs that I know he knows, or I can ask him. You'll meet him. Oh, man. Especially my father, my mother. I really don't think that they understand. Tony Black. I want to see Tony just basking in his glory. He's like, I'm famous. He believes he's famous. He knows he is. I just want to see him. There's going to be just people walking up to. He's not going to be able to hear you too well. So I'm going to make sure that the room is not too loud as it is. There should be some time to, I don't know, cut a rug, especially if King is there. I know that King. We got to give him a little bit of time to do his Saturday Night Fever stuff. But for someone like Tony, He's just take a picture with him. That's it. I can't wait for that. All right, let's see. Who is this? Eddie?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello, who's this?
Eddie.
Eddie, welcome to the show. Go ahead. You're on the air.
I was wondering, how did the agent know that the Vice President Vance's meme was on that guy's phone?
Oh, they said, and now I don't know what the protocols are for Customs and Border Patrol and all that stuff here, because I mean, obviously, I'm a returning. The one time that I did that in the last 15 years when I went to the Dominican Republic for a few days, I'm a returning American citizen. They didn't ask me to open up my phone. He said that.
Me neither.
This guy. What was in that story was that the guy coming from Oslo was like pressured to give the PIN number to his phone.
Yeah, but why did they pick him? How did they know it was on his phone?
Oh, I don't think they were looking for memes. I think that they just wanted to look at the contents of his phone, and that's when they found the memes incidentally, and that's where this all started. That they believe that part of his deportation.
Well, I mean that's insane. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah. I guess I guess if you're in his situation, you have very little. You have very little leverage in saying no. But I wonder how
I would have refused. I would have said no.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but you're right.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I know.
That's all I have.
Well, thanks for the question. It's good to talk to you, Eddie, and I hope you call in again soon.
Okay, thanks.
All right, take care. I guess the whole issue is you've already made the big flight from Oslo, and to be turned around there under any circumstances is going to suck. So if they're like, we need to see the contents of your phone, you're like, oh, shit. Then you finally give them the PIN number just because you don't want to waste all that time. I don't know. I don't know what is legal and what the real circumstances for requiring him to open up his phone like that. That there's something about that story we don't know. Like the whole drug aspect. It made it funny concentrating on the JD Vance memes, but I want to know the other factors there. I just don't know. King, what's going on, man?
Yeah, let me talk to Frank.
No, you got it. Hold on one second. I'll get him right now. Hold on. Give me a moment. Santino, what's up?
Hey, I said I want to talk to Frank. Put him on the phone.
All right, hold on one second.
Tino, welcome to the show.
You see how stupid you asshole sound when you do this? See what I just did there?
I see what you did.
No, I'm talking to the audience. I know you were on it. I knew you knew.
I know you know.
But I just wanted to say regarding your event there, I'm going to try and help you attract more chicks. So, ladies, I will be wearing a Speedo underneath my pants in case you want to peek. So, chicky babies, get on out there.
Do you hear that? If you are in
no bullshit. I will be wearing a Speedo under my pants, broads. In case you want to get a peek, you're more than welcome.
And you just have to ask nicely for a peek.
Doesn't even have to be nicely.
in fact, be extremely rude about it.
Wow, that would be even better.
All right. Well, I'm getting more and more excited as the weeks go on, and we're not even done with July yet.
Well, put them out.
I do. Yes, I do. All right.
That's all I wanted to check in with, man. Thanks for taking my call. Have a great night, and everybody else in there.
Yeah, see, Santino, you should call in at least once a week to give everybody one more reason to be excited for the event.
Will do.
At least once a week. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
There you go. So that's here we go. This week, he called in to make sure everybody knew he will be wearing Speedos. And if you want to take a peek, then you have to be extremely rude to him. That's how you win his heart over. Earl's daughter says, Frank, I rewatched the pilot of my favorite TV show as a young teen. Shocker. There was a tomboy character that ended up not gay by the end of the episode. Facts of life. Everybody had a tomboy character. You know, Think about Little Giants and Becky, Icebox. You know, that's a tomboy character. She still wanted Junior. If Little Giants was made today, Becky would be some pink-haired mohawk lesbian, like Stranger Things. Stranger Things just got stop. So yeah, there's plenty of that, and there's gay characters too. You just knew when people were gay. But it wasn't just. It wasn't this virtue signal. It became cringe, over the top virtue signaling, and that's that. All right, Earl's daughter. Thank you for that, Earl's daughter. And Steve Trammell says, I would love to see an update on the current events sections in your intro video. Just a thought. Love the show. Yeah, well, Steve, here's the issue with the intro video. The intro video is in stalemate right now because I was hoping to have had a whole new intro song. What I thought would have been a really good song to reflect the new kind of aesthetic that we have here in studio, on the website, elsewhere. That kind of like city at night, film noir, art deco kind of a thing. What I had produced for me sounds wonderful, but it sounds like if I ever started a true crime podcast on the side, that's what it sounds like. And so I went back to square one. I'm like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this. So I'm kind of in stalemate. I don't know what the hell to do. I've got to get away from it. I've got to get away from what we have right now, just for the standpoint of I can't be clipping the things apart just to upload it just got to. I know we all love the ants, so we all love all that, but we've been doing it for 15 years together, and some things just be set aside. It should be shortened up. It'll be a little bit more punchy. There should be an homage to the Shinedown melody, but it's got to be done right. And I don't know. I've got so many things going on right now. To spin that plate, I just put the plate down for a little bit. Okay, let's see here. Steve Trammell, thank you for that, though, Steve, because it is definitely a consideration. Steve Trammell and Earl's daughter is now in the name picker. All right, we're going to go to our guest in just a second. I want to make sure that everybody's with us. If you do a live show or show after the fact, please edit out King's Speedos, says Haywood over there on Rumble. Don't worry. Miss Day Dawn says, looking forward to the meetup. Miss Day Dawn, thank you so much. I'll put you in there as well. Miss Day Dawn. The meetup is going to be great. It's going to be a fun time for sure. All right. Let's see. Jay Winard says, it may be my last super chat. I called a nicotine deprived coworker a fucking, what is that? An F word? If I were a smoker, I'd get more breaks. I get you. I get what you're saying. Jay Winard, well, listen, keep your life nice and preserved, however the hell you can do it. Let's take a call from Curtis. Is this you?
This is me, Frank. How you doing?
Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, I wasn't sure if you heard about this or not. Did you hear the latest investigation or news from Putin?
From who?
Putin.
Putin?
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin?
Vladimir Putin, yes, sir.
Okay, well, what happened?
This is kind of interesting, and it's kind of hard to tell whether it's real or fake in this day and age, but he reportedly said that there is ample evidence that Russia has that we have been consuming our own in our country, as well as that Russia has the docs on what really happened on 9/11.
Oh. Where did you see that, though?
Well, I saw it on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So, who knows about the validity? I just thought it was interesting, with all the shit that they're throwing at us left and right. That one caught my eye because, with the beef patties that we get in all the restaurants, sometimes it's questionable. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we've always been saying, about all the ways that that people are consuming. God knows what they're consuming. So it's I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen things like that. It's all over the place. But Facebook posts, what are you going to do? Hey, it's just Facebook. So I usually look at that, I scoff, and then I wait for somebody else to publish it. And then if it comes out of TASS or something like that, or if it's on RT, or then I'll start taking it a little bit more seriously. At least, I mean, and when I say seriously, even then I say, okay, well, it at least is a signed off. This is an approved, rubber stamped pro-Russia propaganda operation. Whether it's true or not, you don't know. It's just that's something that they signed off on, because it's essentially state media. So that's when it starts getting a little bit more interesting. But everybody's jockeying for position here. You can't really side with any one state government or another. So it's just us, the monkeys in the middle. Anyway, thank you, Curtis, for that. And I want to go and bring on our guest for the evening. Now, let me see. I started that up. Yeah. Let me bring him on. It is off. Shit. There we go. I'm bringing on Skip from Patriot Protect. Skip, you hear me?
I certainly can. Can you hear me all right on the ones and twos?
I can hear you as well. Is it just going to be you? Is James coming by tonight?
It's just going to be me.
Okay. And do you want to be on screen?
What's your choice?
It doesn't matter. I set it up for you not to be on screen, so I could just put the logo up for tonight, and I can plan for you guys being on next time if you want.
Let's do that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, only because that's just what I'm used to. Either way, it's great to hear from you again. How the hell's everything been?
Oh man, busy as all hell, man. When we do our thing, we are just cruising USA.
Well,
it's good.
As far as cruising USA, I wanted to, we were just talking about a few things that have been unearthed, and we're waiting on now in 2026 with TWA 800. You remember that old plane crash?
Yeah, it went off the end of Long Island. Sure.
Yeah. Well, there's we're talking about official narratives crumbling down and all that stuff, and what was
really.
Yeah, it long since been confirmed by people who are not on the inside or in the media that it wasn't just a spark in the fuel tank. It was a missile from a U.S. Navy ship that was conducting operations in places that it should not have been. But anyway, we're doing that tonight, and I'm happy that we're able to talk about what we have coming up over here with you, because the cybersecurity world news that we're bringing on is actually, it brings up for me questions for a very rapidly approaching day and age, where I think about TWA 800 and I think about all the TWA 800 potential mishaps that could happen when that missile system is the actual city you live in, when AI has become the city you live in. And I don't know where you want to start, because right now I have, what is this, database with 184 million logins and passwords accessible online with no password. This is from Bitdefender. Tell us what you brought, and then I'm going to tell you what I brought.
Yeah, this this, and then the big one that is on my mind is the State Department, the impersonation of Marco Rubio. That's huge, and it also really ties into, if you type in before the nytimes.com, if you type in web.archive.org,
I'm going there right now.
/
I'm going there.
That usually gets you past that thing.
Yep,
and you know what, too, Frank, if you want to put me on camera, I'm actually happy with that too. If you think it might endear me and Patriot Protect to the audience a little bit more,
okay,
for a little credibility or whatever.
No problem. Let me see here. Split screen. Hold on. Now you're all off in the corner. Look at that. Yeah, there you go. Move it down. Yeah, down a little bit more. It looks like you're sitting on my lap and you're like a 5-year-old or something like that. We have to.
Hang on. Which side am I on?
Tilt it downward just a little bit so our eyes are.
Oh, I need to go down. Right. Okay.
Yeah, just tilt it down so our eyes are level. There we go.
How's that? That's nice.
It looks fine. So let's get back to this over here. State Department investigating messages impersonating Rubio.
This is insane.
Well, so what happened with this?
So basically, it was really simple. Some hackers made a Signal account just with the display name as like marco.rubio@state.gov, and were able to make contact with 3 foreign ministers who they didn't disclose who it was, of course, but they used an AI impersonation of his voice. And so what I, of course, want to, impart to your listeners is like, this is technology that's real and becoming cheaper. So like, this is very important for us to understand and have countermeasures against.
Okay, so this is not because, of course, when you were on and James were on in the past, we were talking about not only all of these places in like Malaysia and all that stuff where people are actually being held captive, they're slaves.
Yeah, literally slaves.
Yeah, and those are just whatever has a human attached to running that script. Otherwise, it is a lot of just AI generated audio that is just running scripts, hoping to get a bite from somebody, and they're just playing a numbers game. Out of every 100 numbers that are dialed, perhaps 10 of them send $100, and that's a good day, especially for doing no work. But with State Department, when you've got actual foreign diplomats that are responding to this with seriousness, thinking it's Marco.
That's exactly what happened.
Wow.
3 foreign ministers, made contact. It's absolutely insane. And so the question is, for anyone that, that's listening, you think yourself, okay, yes, look, this is a State Department, this is the U.S. Secretary of State. This isn't me. Yeah, maybe. But there will come a time very soon, because think about how quickly this has changed from like, some people just dialing numbers and hope that you tell them that you're on Medicare Part D or whatever, and, do that sort of a thing, versus, somebody being able to impersonate your likeness and your voice and stuff and call up your grandchild or your child and say, hey, I'm in trouble. I need $150 or $15,000 or something like that because I'm in some prison or something like that. I've been detained. So it is so quick to happen. We said this before, like, we said a while ago that this is like, we thought that they were using these scammers and stuff were using bows and arrows, but they've moved on to gunpowder. Well, they're about to like have a nuclear submarine, basically is what this is pointing us towards.
Well, not only that, but over here, see, the New York Times took an opportunity to pivot away from this story about Marco Rubio and talk about Jeffrey Goldberg and the Atlantic with the whole Signal chat
of
thing.
Course.
And with Pete Hegseth and all that, because they had to find a way to get around to something they can control. But that actually brings up a really interesting point there. It's just that when you are able to impersonate the Secretary of State for the United States and actually get foreign diplomats to respond to you in some way, what kind of sensitive information can you get from foreign diplomats as you operate under the guise that you are the Secretary of State? I mean, even the small, it could be very subtle information that people need to be able to get from one person or another based on an ongoing conflict or maybe a trade dispute or whatever the hell it is. The information that could be most devastating may be subtle.
Of course. I mean, I think what they ended up doing, I think this was kind of like a dog actually catching the garbage truck sort of thing.
Right.
I think they didn't really know how much power they had because they just asked for like funds. They asked for money. There was nothing particularly like insidious. Like it's not like they were asking for nuclear codes or whatever. But at the end of the day, this is just a harbinger of things to come. Right. This is the kind of technology that's out there and available for people, for scammers and bad actors to use against you. I mean, we think a lot at Patriot Protect about like our digital hygiene, right? What is out there about us? And again, we've said this many times on your program. If you haven't signed up for Patriot Protect, or if you have no countermeasures against AI, against the the data scraping Chinese AI DeepSeek, which is going across all these data brokers, which Patriot Protect takes you off of, to protect you and inoculate you from this, then you're completely exposed. So again, like if this is being used for statecraft or whatever, or just being able to extort foreign ministers for ultimately pennies compared to to the actual use case for this sort of thing, what can it do to us? A lot is the answer, and it's coming, and it's becoming cheaper. Like we said, they're running a business just like anybody else, right? They're weighing input versus output. So what can they get from you based off of their tools that are increasingly becoming cheaper?
You're saying that the AI, the people who are programming the AI that was impersonating Marco Rubio was actually calling up foreign diplomats asking for them to send money out of their own pocket?
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a dog cat actually catching the garbage truck. You wouldn't know what to do. It's like they wouldn't. I'm sure they never thought that would have worked. That they can call the foreign minister of Serbia or whatever.
Yeah, I could just imagine that. Somebody from Belgium is just like, Marco Rubio just asked me for $500, and he asked me to Venmo him for some reason. That's that's funny. I can almost get behind that.
Of course, it is absolutely. It's
hilarious.
funny when this happens in this realm. I mean, it is a lot less funny, when I watched this, I read this article and I was like, yeah, of course that's hilarious because what are the Marco Rubio asked me for $75, like what's the point of that? Like he went and he ordered pizza.
I know. Hey,
but this is the kind of thing when my blood ran cold when I read this because Patriot Protect, of course, always tries to be like a step ahead of the latest scammers and cyber criminals and that sort of thing. And like I said, they've moved on from bows and arrows to gunpowder to nuclear subs.
Hey, listen, to your point, if this could happen to a Secretary of State, or not even happening to Marco Rubio, it actually happened to a few international diplomats, foreign diplomats. It's just that Marco Rubio's identity was stolen, was co-opted for a little while to have this done. If this is happening to people on the international stage working in like you said, statecraft, then when it comes to everyday people, the hundreds of millions,
forget it.
I mean, it's just constantly, we're under attack constantly. And when you're talking about just the data pools that people are dipping into in order to find their next targets, which I get, even the targets are being settled upon in very automated ways. 184 million logins and passwords accessible online with no password. This is a database for what in particular?
Oh, this was a huge cache of logins. It was Google, Apple, GitHub, Telegram, Facebook. There it is. Yeah,
shit.
Snapchat. Yeah, the Microsoft products.
Roblox.
Everything. Again, we don't remember 20 years ago, there was like a zillion websites you used to go to. Now there's only like a handful of websites that you go to. And so that's what makes it even more dangerous when your login credentials are put on the dark web. For sale to try to target you. Yeah, hell yeah, that's a problem. It's a massive, absolutely massive breach. This is as you know, this is exactly the kind of thing that we do with our blackout product. Is that our blackout report? We go and we look and see if your phone number and email address is for sale on the dark web, and see if you're being sold and targeted for extortion or worse. So this is just another example of many. We look at this all the time. Our team produces the blackout reports that we send out to our users, and usually they go back, call it 6 years, that sort of thing. You would have had a breach of your MyFitnessPal password or something like that from 2024. And you didn't even know that it was out there. And so you've been using that password for 2 years. You didn't know that it was breached and that it was out there for sale on the dark web. And you're using it for that. You're using it for your healthcare, logins, your your student loans for your children or whatever. It's really, really bad. And so this is just the latest example, which happened in the last, couple weeks, to show that this is the kind of stuff that's out there and available on you.
Well, here's another one. AT&T hit by a massive reported identity data leak. This is from June. Yep. Again, leaked records include names, decrypted social security numbers, and addresses. So you want to talk about how there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. I mean, it's just what the hell is everybody? So I guess data security is really just an oxymoron. There's no way to keep it secure at all.
No, it's not. That's a really, really good question, and something that we think about all the time. You tailor your security level to the threat that you have, right? So, 20 years ago, you didn't need to have a service like Patriot Protect that's making sure that you have that data hygiene, that your home address, your family's names, their ages, your old email addresses and all that stuff isn't just out there. It's not even necessarily for sale. A lot of it is just out there. And so, of course, what our service does is delete all of that for you on your behalf, because you could just never functionally do it yourself. You could just simply couldn't scalably do it. There's hundreds of these websites. And so now the question is what is the point? What do we do with all this information? And the reality is that these leaks will continue to happen, and the threat levels will continue to escalate. The question that I ask anybody is, how are you handling it? What are the countermeasures that you're arming yourself with? We believe in the Second Amendment, and that helps if somebody gets to your door. But can you prevent them from knowing where your door is in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. Now, as far as doors go, I want to widen this out a little bit. And last night, as a little bit of a filler story, but not unimportant, I had this tweet from one Rohan Paul, and was talking about a Reddit user who deposited $400 into a Robinhood account and then just prompted ChatGPT to pick option trades and gave it a whole bunch of prompts. And, of course, a 100 win rate over 10 days and made some money. Mm-hmm. I don't know how well people are going to be able to duplicate this over time and what controls are going to be put in place to fight against these types of programs and whatever. But then we have something else, and I want to just mesh it all together because it's big picture.
Mm-hmm. It is all connected.
Yeah. Here's the other one. This is from Zero Hedge. Now we're talking about the city, the city of Pittsburgh. I have friends out there in Pittsburgh. The city of Pittsburgh will be transformed into an AI hub of the world with a $75 billion investment. President Trump is set to join Pennsylvania Republican Senator Dave McCormick at a major energy and AI summit at Carnegie Mellon University this afternoon. According to local media, McCormick is expecting to unveil plans for at least $75 billion in energy and AI infrastructure investment across Pittsburgh, aiming to transform the city from a hollowed-out manufacturing town into the AI hub of the world. Now, I dug deeper and deeper into, but what does this mean? Well, is it just that they're going to be producing more chips, or is it just that, because before AI started becoming the centerpiece of every headline that's out there, we were learning about 15-minute cities, smart cities, how everything is smart gridded out. Everything you could need in a city or in your life needs to be within a few blocks there. Everything is internet connected. Everything has an IP address. Every telephone pole, whatever the hell it is, a camera on every corner. So I started thinking about this, as well as just basic civilian level AI tech that could be used to ride the financial markets. I just wonder if there's any thought that you've ever given to this, now that there are ways for little people to affect money markets, perceived risks with that, but also on a macro level, when you're talking about citywide, what could be said about cybersecurity concerns for a person living in a smart city that is going to be, refitted with hundreds of billions of dollars worth of AI technology?
Wow, my brain, every synapse is firing. It's hard to even know where to start.
I know.
I have, you know what? I'll give you an anecdote that I think is really pertinent. When Obama was president, I think it was like his Twitter account that was hacked for like 20 minutes or something like that. It was some hackers or something that posted some, Turkish separatist flag or whatever. It was something pretty lame, whatever it was. The second that happened and it was posted to his Twitter account, the entire Dow Jones Industrial Index tanked and corrected itself nearly instantaneously. Now, this was what, over 10 years ago or something, right? And I remember seeing that and thinking that the financial industry, for instance, is using, maybe we wouldn't have called it AI then, we would have called it like algorithms or, quants or something like that, and turned it into something that's so automated. In fact, they even bought, like Bloomberg, for instance, and or Goldman Sachs had their own dedicated data cables from New York to Chicago so that they could beat the Chicago Mercantile Exchange with just those nanoseconds worth of trading edge, that little arbitrage of just that nanoseconds of time to beat the market. So the financial industry is like way ahead on this AI thing, and it's the days of stockbrokers shouting at each other, having heart attacks on the New York Stock Exchange floor is just not what we see anymore. It's really data scientists and PhDs that are honing in their AI, to make this work. So that's one thing. We are entirely outgunned when it comes to this. When it comes to, this big investment in AI, because I also saw that from, I think the total was $80 billion pledged by President Trump. Firstly, most of this kind of goes to companies, but I would imagine what a lot of this goes to, and I think I saw it referenced in your article there, was that a lot of it goes to energy, right? This is an extremely energy intensive an energy intensive industry. I think every time we ask it to generate an image of like, a rubber duck the size of the Empire State Building, like a square acre of the Amazon rainforest is deforested. Like it's just a crazy amount of energy consumption that goes into this. Pittsburgh, I can see this as like a kind of natural, hey, this is a cool thing to say that we're going to do. We've been looking at these kind of smart city initiatives for 20 years.
Yeah.
Again, I think under the Obama administration, they had one thing where the idea was to have satellites beam down textbooks to Appalachia or something. And it was like, man, you could have just sent like a couple trucks and like people have actual books. Again, this is just, $150 million just goes to some company, satellite company that's foreign owned and then just folds. That's kind of how
same thing
happen.
with like, we had a lot of those things, had like a Solyndra with all the green energy. That I think that was like $500 million just for nothing. Up in smoke, right?
Of course, it's a stimulus for companies, is what it comes down to. Are the rivers that join at the tip of Pittsburgh going to be diverted into a huge hydroelectric jam so we can better effectively, have seventh graders do their homework? I don't know. What's going to happen there?
But as far but of course, just to watch the clock a little bit here, to take the world that has been previewed for us for, like you said, 20 years in one way or another, whether it's all of these pie in the sky AI systems that we're told about. Many of us don't even really know what the hell it all means. We just hear AI and we go, oh, it's something new. But whatever the hell you call it, the connectivity of every device, every appliance, every stoplight, and every whatever the hell it is, when you talk about an entire city that is designed to work in concert in that kind of a way that is inherently surveillance based and in that respect can be hacked or whatever the hell it is, what do you think is going to be the standard now for personal data security when everything around you can sap something off of you?
Yeah. So, the Internet of Things, which you're describing, has always been a dreadfully insecure apparatus. And so the question that, if you're listening, I highly recommend that you think about this, about how you're going to mitigate your risk. Let me be clear. The China and several other state actors, Iran included, which we can get into or not, it's up to you, are currently scraping these data brokers to build profiles on all Americans because they realize it's actually a lot cheaper to try to disarm the citizens of a country than it is the military of a country, because the citizens don't have themselves armed with proper data security. This is why I wake up in the morning. This is why we do what we do, is to make sure that there is something that you can do to take control of your digital identity. Because whether or not you put it out there, it's being put out there for you. And they're building these AI companies are scraping the internet and these data brokers for your information to build a profile on you, so that either in a coordinated or uncoordinated or stochastic attack, they can you can have your home deed taken away from you. You can have your inheritance or your 401k, your pension taken away from you, or just the equivalent of having somebody come into your house and take out the money from under your mattress. And if that's what you think you're up against, is someone walking into your house and doing that, you might have a shotgun above your mantle. Let me tell you, if you don't have a service like Patriot Protect, you don't have this iron wall in front of you that stops the likes of China, Iran from and just good old fashioned scammers taking what's yours. Yeah. And so the question you should ask yourself is, what is it worth to me? And let me tell you, brother, it is pennies. It's fractions of pennies on the dollar of what our service costs, versus the reality of getting your bank account drained.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And listen, that's why I was so happy when I found you guys about 2 years ago now. And not only was I very happy with the service you continue to provide for me and my family, but I know everybody who has signed on with you have had the same things to say. And also, it's these talks. I love when you come on every couple of months or so.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, because you have to, if you're doing the job that you're doing, then you have to know exactly what the hell is going on and which way the winds are blowing. And they don't seem to be blowing anywhere constructive. And so it just seems like it seems like people like you read the news to know how you need to, what services you need to better beef up, because everybody else seems to be dropping the ball. And anyway, at any rate, the website is in the description of the episode. That's patriot-protect.com. Do you have a promo code for people in this audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Two things. One is, yes, go to patriot-protect.com/frankly, and we'll give you, in honor of you having us on, which is much appreciated, we'll give 15% off of the annual plans, which, it can be like $4 a month equivalent or something. It's so cheap. We also, since last we came on, we have a family plan now. Oh. And so even for those, that have signed up as a result of hearing about us on your show, they can go into their subscription portal and change their plan if they want to add somebody. And it's a huge discount per person. So please take a look into that.
Is there any limit to how many people you can add to your family? Because this might be a stocking stuffer for me, to be honest.
It's a 2-person family plan, and then anybody else you can add as an individual. Okay. Or you can just double up and do 2 family plans or something. It really just comes down to the dual subscriptions and making sure that you fill out your information.
Yeah.
But it's think about it. I mean, how long did it take for you to sign up? Like 5 minutes or something?
Yeah.
And then from there, it is a lifetime of protection of us being one step ahead and mitigating the risk on your behalf. So you don't even need to think about it.
Well, not only that, but you're also very accessible throughout the whole. At any time that I want to get in touch with you guys, see, hey, how's everything going? Can I add some new keywords? Can I tweak things a little bit more? An old email address, whatever the hell it is. You guys been very responsive, and I hope you get some people knocking on your door. Thanks again for the time tonight, Skip.
Pleasure. Always a pleasure to come on.
All right, everybody. We will talk to you in a little bit, my man. I'll talk to you soon. And tell James I said hi, please.
I absolutely will do. Be well, man.
All right, be well. All right, so here's what we got going on in the last couple of moments here. We did a little bit of cybersecurity. We did a little bit of media, just random news bits from around the world. There's a lot happening. Over on, let me see. Over on quitefrankly.tv, the gold pills. You ready? Amethyst Cat says, the man who invented Velcro has died. R.I.P. Aha. Oh, okay. I get you. Rip. Okay, got you. Vesper says, watching Gangs of New York after the show. You know what I have to look into? I'm going to be watching Gangs of New York sometime this week, hope maybe this weekend. I don't know what it is, but I got to look into Amazon watch parties for those people who are interested in it. Because I know on Amazon you can have a watch party. You know, everybody, you know, rents a movie and then you start it together, and where no matter where the hell you are, everybody's watching the same. I like to see how we can incorporate that into Film Club. And maybe, you know, be in a chat room while we're all watching the movie together, whoever can make it that night. I got to look into how watch parties can work out. Stuck in New York. Thank you. I've already added all these names to the name picker. Safety Net says, love bomb of support for my favorite place to hang out with family, frankly. One love, Lynn. I love Lynn. Ronald Smergen says, longtime caller, first time listener. I've got all the Hank albums. My favorite is No Fat Asses on the Port Side of Guam. All the Hank albums. That's right. That's it. Hank Johnson. He's got to release a Christmas album. Meek Elite M3 says, here's the real deal holy spiel, frankly. And then Willie Fixit says, end gay porn for children. Stop this now. Yes. Nina Rocks says, Frank and Frankly's, I love you all. Nina says, I'm now in hospice care, and I will soon be meeting Jesus, hopefully sooner than later. Please pray for me and my family. Nina, what is that? What is this? I don't even know. Well, listen, Nina, if there's any way you can email the show, that took me by surprise. If you can please email the show, Nina. Absolutely, we'll be praying, but I just want to, just a little jarring, but I would love to hear from you, Nina. Frank at quitefrankly.tv. Please, if you have the time and the will, that would be wonderful. Sean Joe, thank you, and Delona, thank you. Boy. Okay, so I'm going to release the scratching right there, just so you guys can just get that, and I'm gonna move on to ending this show now and getting some other things going on. Let's see, over on Rumble, real quick, I saw that there was another one that came in. I wanted to thank. That is from Intuit RU. Says, since King will be there in his Speedo, I have to rethink if I'm going to your wonderful meetup in September. I can't get past that he calls women broads, and the thought of him in a Speedo scares me. Okay. Well, everybody, there's one more ticket you can jump onto. There's one more ticket now, because King has scared somebody away with his Speedo. Well, I mean, not everybody was going to like it, but there's one more ticket available. Haywood, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And I think we're all done over here. So I have everybody in. Jay Winard, Earl's daughter, all that. Let's see who wins the patch, and let's see who wins the silver. That is a SpaceX patch and a nice round of silver. So who's it going to be? The hell is it? Hold on. Why is that not working? Oh, wait. Something didn't work. I'm going to copy and paste all these names, because if I lose these names, I will scream. I'm going to now reload the page and paste the names back in. Whew. Oh my gosh. If I lost all these names, I'd be sitting here for 15 minutes just typing names. It'd be terrible. All right, pick a name. Here we go. And Safety Net. Safety Net. I believe that's on pill.net, everybody. Safety Net gets a SpaceX patch and a round of silver. I'll have more silver to give away very soon. Get in touch with me, Safety Net, Frank at quitefrankly.tv, so I can get your address and send this out to you ASAP. And yes, that's all I got for you tonight. And tomorrow should be fun. I'm going to have Jay Gulanello in here, and we're going to have a wonderful guest and so many other things to talk about, plus hopefully some of your calls. A good night otherwise. Good night otherwise. I'm thinking about Nina now. But I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And be peaceful. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you all so much. And that's it. Good night. Thanks again to Skip from Patriot Protect for coming on. Until tomorrow. Goodbye. I'm sorry to everybody on Spotify. I don't know when the hell you're going to hear this, especially if you rely on Spotify to get the show. We're still here. We're just not there. No.
I'll catch you on the...
Goodbye. All right. That's it. Thanks, everybody.